Hi, so welcome. It's great to see you all here. And we're just, thank you for coming. We're just going to do healing and Q&A. People can ask about what's going on in their lives or what they need to change. Today's focus is about money and wealth. And what we'll do is anything that we clear for anybody, we'll also be clearing for everybody on the call. So if you have a similar thing as somebody, that would be great. If you haven't muted yourself, that would be good. Only the people that are talking, it's good if they're unmuted. And you can ask questions by raising your hand. I think there's a link somewhere to do that. And if you don't see that, just in the chat, you can type questions there. And I'm here to help you all. So ask away and we'll take it from there. So who has a question about what? Either type it in the comment or I think there's a way to raise your hand. You can't hear. Can most people hear? If you can hear, raise your hand. Okay. So Natalie, you could check your volume. Raising your hand is under more, apparently. Oh, cool. Okay, good. So if you can't hear, then that's probably something on your computer, and maybe check the volume, and you should be good on that. And good. And then people can just ask questions. Okay, so this is what I want to know. All right, I'm just gonna, so I forgive me if I mispronounce your name, Beretti. I'm going to unmute you because your hand is raised as soon as it tells me how to do that. So, and I'm sorry, this is a huge big thing. So, who am I speaking with and how can I help you? So your name online is VARETTI. And you're unmuted if you can talk. Is that, hello? Okay, we'll come back to that person. And Megan Ann, I'm gonna unmute you. So.
Oh, I had just raised my hand because you said to raise your hand if you could hear you.
Oh, well, you're here. Do you have a question? As long as we got you, you're not obligated.
Not
okay.
offhand.
Okay. So then I'm going to remute you. And so, okay. So we have, so I'm going to, technical things here. I'm just learning how to do this and lower hands and everything. My apologies. So the raise your hand is under more, and if you have a question, you can ask it. And I'm going to rate lower everybody's hands to start with, so that if people have questions, they can just raise them, and we will go from there. So Natalie, can you hear me now? Are you okay?
Yes. No, I can hear you.
You can?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so you have a question?
No, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to lower your hand.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? Because if not, I'll just start doing a clearing for wealth for everybody. And then when people think of their questions or their particular situations, they can send a chat or raise their hands. Okay. So I'm getting that Baretti, or I don't have any idea if I'm pronouncing that correct. You are unmuted.
You sound a bit garbled. I don't know if the same for anybody else.
Is everybody garbled, or I've got a bunch of
No,
here.
you sound good. You sound good.
Okay. Who's listed as Baretti? That's all the information I have here. Raise your hand. I've lowered your hand. You raise it again. Do you have a question? Yes, no? All right, I'm just going to lower it again and let's see what happens next. All right, so I'm just going to start doing a clearing then, which we'll do in silence for everyone. And I'll do this for a while. And does anybody have any particular intentions? Okay, yeah, different. So what intentions? Okay, so Megan, are you raising your hand again? Or, because it looks like you are. Or are you just blocking the screen? If you have a question, put it in the chat window or somehow let me know. Okay, I intend to be debt-free and for money blocks to be removed. What's your current situation? Because that will be easier to deal with. If you don't want me to see you, you can turn off the video on your device, whether it's a phone or just stop the video for your device, but keep the sound on. You should be fine. Okay. You all have a lot of very different questions. There's a whole bunch of different energies about different questions. It's not so clear that we all want wealth. Different people are coming from very different angles. Yeah, so if you don't want to say something aloud, type it in the chat so we can figure out how to do that. Okay. I also don't see where you raise your hand, but somebody said, but where is it?
You're on the right.
It's on the right?
Yeah, it's under the list of people that are in the room, participants. And underneath, there's a blue line and it says, mute me, and it says, raise my hand.
Well, see, that's brilliant. I don't see it on mine. I don't know. Oh, because I can't raise my hand. That's why I'm the host. It won't let me raise my hand. Okay, so good. We'll
Hi, Jay. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to see you.
Well, I'm happy to be here. So, yeah, so wealth and abundance and use of grace. I have to click on the participant. No, I have the participants up here all up and everything. Okay, so yeah, you better give me some ideas because you're not all here for the same purpose. And it'll be easier to do a clearing that works for people if I know what you're looking for. Opening to receiving and repeat. Wealth and abundance with grace. Particular business things coming up. Financial independence. what does financial independence look like? Yeah, no, I'm not. Oh, got it. Okay. Okay, well, let's do Susan, but you don't have a microphone, Susan. I can't unmute you. Why am I not? Support for all. Huh. I have somebody who's raised their hand, but they don't have a microphone, so I can't unmute them. So make sure you have a microphone set up somehow. Okay. Okay, deeper connection to the divine on all levels of my system, for greater wealth on all levels in all areas of my life. If they don't know, if they don't have a mic, they can use the chat. Thank you, Rick. I got to say, this is this is fun, and we are going to be doing things. Is it Ajro? I can unmute you. Is that Oz? Hi, you're unmuted.
Yeah, I can hear you, David. Thanks.
Good. So what's your question?
So my question is, what do you think sort of stems at the root of most people's money issue? Because you've mentioned that we all kind of are coming at it from different angles, but is there like a few common roots that you could sort of address that would sort of in return address some of the other superficial money issues?
That's a great question, and thank you for asking. And I'm trying, believe me, I'm trying to unify at least down to 4 principal things. I'm kind of getting there, but we have everything from deep core unworthiness to mistrust of money as a means of just mistrust of money, to why should I even have to do anything with money, to a non-acceptance of the way the world works, and in some cases, non-acceptance of even being in this world. And those are just some of the different things that have come up so far. There's a big one. So Susan got her mic up, thanks. So we'll get back to you in a second. So someone suggested that we start with an overall clearing because everybody wants more wealth, but that's actually not true. There are some of you who are actually afraid and terrified of wealth. So if we do a clearing for more wealth for you without clearing the fear, that's going to be a problem. So by the end of it, we will end with a good long clearing that will get pretty much everybody. But the first thing we need to do is get rid of some of the craziness that's going on, which is what we're doing when you're all telling me what's going on and what we're kind of working on anyway. Hopefully no one is driving, but if you are, you may want to consider pulling over and parking during this. We do the vast majority of our work in silence, and we're running quite a few energies on the group as a whole anyway, and just trying to pick and choose what everybody needs individually. Okay. So someone asked, what am I divinely guided to prepare for this group now to start? And the first thing is just to get a wholeness that includes everybody, which means we have to attend to a lot of the parts. Now we need to let the water boil for a couple more minutes and then we'll get down into specifics. So Oz, did we take care of your thing or do you have more?
Yeah, so I guess to make it more specific for myself, my request would be to like stretch my capacity, if you will, because when I try and tune in, I've realized I've only made at the most $60,000 a year. So like, even when I try and like tune into that, I see there's like a block. So I'm stretching that to move it into a bigger number without coming up against like internal resistance.
Yeah, so the problem is, and you expressed it pretty well. Are you familiar with the concept of stage presence, where someone can get on a stage and however big the stage is, they command the stage. Everyone feels that they're filling up the stage. And then there are some people who determine the stage just get swallowed up by the stage. Does that make sense? Okay. At 60,000 is the amount of stage presence that you have for money, and the rest of I'm not finding fault because we want to fix this for you. I'm just letting you know what's going on. And the rest of it beyond that is just like out there. It's just it's beyond where I can move. So in your case, what we need to do to allow expansion into the area beyond 60,000, to just start moving in that area. It's basically that's someone else's yard and I'm not allowed there, and we need to be getting you to move in there to dissolve that limit of 60,000. And then once we allow you to get in there, we need to fill the stage presence to fill the area so that wealth at 80 or 100 can come into your system. What are your financial goals?
What would my financial goals be? To definitely, like, the first milestone would be the 6 figures, the 100K. And then as I say that, like, the internal counter to that is, because I live a pretty minimalistic lifestyle, the automatic like counter to that internally is, oh, you don't need that much. So
what would you do with it if you had it? What difference would it make in your life?
So a few things. I would definitely, I guess, make my living situation more comfortable, like having my own apartment in LA or even outside of LA, and then travel more and use that extra money to assist my mother, because now my father passed away, so she's sort of taking care of herself. And then the rest would be to finish off like student loans, so by the time I graduate college, I don't have any debt.
Can I ask what you do for income?
So right now I do social media consulting. Okay. So I essentially help other businesses use social media to
I'm going to try putting, excuse me, I'm going to try putting in some headphone jacks to see if the sound is better for people. And this is the best I can do, so if it doesn't work, sorry, my apologies. Is this better for those who are sending me notes? Okay, so you actually have about 4 things to clear in the sequence of what you talked about. On one hand, we heard that you want to support your mother, and I trust that in your heart you want to. But you don't have any energy for that in the system as far as wealth is concerned.
Correct.
So you either need to get that or you need to let go of the desire to help your mother, one or the other.
Okay.
And either one's an option. Just to, okay. Yeah, so there's no energy in that. There's definitely some worthiness things going on inside. There's definitely some of the why do we need to do things going on inside. There's just a whole bunch of different things going on with you. So, are you in a position to lie down?
I could be easily.
Okay. If you can't, at least sit with your eyes closed. We're going to do some things on you in silence for a while. I'll be taking other questions during this time, and all you need to do is let go and allow. And if you want to take a sip of water during this process, and I may recommend water for a lot of people, water is always body temperature, room temperature. It's not hot or cold, no ice or steam. And it's to flush things out, not to fill you up with water, but to flush out stuff from the emotional body or the psychic realms or wherever one think it's from, doesn't matter, even the physical body, but it's to flush things out. But if you could lay down, let's have you do that for about half an hour and then raise your hand again and we'll check back with you. How does that sound?
That sounds good. So I'm just gonna adjust and lie down and just receive. Thanks.
And someone asked, does this clearing apply to others too? Yes, it will apply to everyone that it's appropriate for, but it won't apply to you if you don't need this. If your ice cream bowl is already full, you don't need more, so we're not going to give you more. We're not about greed in any way, shape, or form. We're about removing the blocks so that we can all live and accept all of the best blessings that divine would like us to have. So I hope that works for people. Okay, so what other? Let me get back to this one. Okay, so we also have developed, yeah. So money is the root of all evil. It's an excuse, and in the case of the person who wrote this, even you don't buy it. So we don't care about it. Money. One of the things we need to understand about money, it is completely 100% made up. It's absolutely just a fabrication of a bunch of people sitting around thinking, let's do this. And everybody else going around, that's a good idea, we'll buy into that. The amount of money in the United States is literally determined by a small group of people, I think it's 11 people or less, who decide that now the economy is going to have X number of dollars within it. They just decide. It isn't that they found gold or a uranium mine or platinum or whatever else, and now there are diamonds, and now that added to the wealth. These people literally just decide we need more money in the economy, so we'll print the bills and release it. The whole thing about money is that money is a state of mind. It's absolutely a state of mind. And if we live in the state of mind that says, I don't have any, we get to live and enjoy that state of mind. If we live in the state of mind that I'm part of this unbounded creation which has all possibilities at every moment, and I'm a divine being and I'm completely cared for, just as the fish in the sea and the angels in heaven and the monkeys in the trees and the ants and the cockroaches and any animal, the trees, absolutely everybody else, none of them worry about money. Absolutely no other being. And in the truth, something that we were told a long time ago is that in all of the universe, there's something like 6 planets that use an economy, a money system based like this one, and the rest of them don't even bother. Buckminster Fuller, who designed the geodesic dome and wrote operating manual for Spaceship Earth back in the 70s, pointed out at that time that the myth that we needed to work was already passé, that at that point only 1 in about 10,000 people needed to work to produce what we need in society to live an incredible level of comfort. And now it's closer to 1 in 100 or even 200,000 is all that's needed with the robot arms and the different technologies and stuff. And a huge amount of human creativity is completely spent with what can I do today to bring money to me? When in fact, people are literally thinking up crazy schemes or whatever, so just so they can get in the money stream. When the fact is, there's like, I want to say 5 times as much wealth on the planet as needs to be there for every single person on the planet to live an incredibly comfortable life. If you are born in Saudi Arabia because they have so much wealth from one of their natural resources, they actually give everybody something in the equivalent, I think it's like $26,000 a year just for being born there. They will send you and pay for any school in the world that you want to go to just because you're a citizen. Well, they're not the only country that could do it. They're not the only people that have that. So we really want to get in the mindset of this is an illusion. Money is nothing other than an illusion. And how much do we want to play this game? And how much do we want to focus on what we perceive our life's purpose and life's intention and what we're here to do? How much we want to do for that. And then, but we still need to live. And for some people, I heard a great quote the other day, I've been using it ever since, which is, not my genius, not my job. So if you're incredibly good at fixing something in the world, but you're not particularly good at getting the money for you, that's not your job. So do the good thing and put in the order to the divine, to God, to the angels, to your guardian angels, or whoever's taking care of you, the lost angel, whatever, and just say, I will do my part. I will do my obligation. You guys need to take care of the money for me. I'm not good at that. Can you please arrange that? Some of you will be able to do that and some of you won't, but we all have contracts. We've all made agreements. We all came in with certain backpacks and certain tools and implements within them. And if we didn't come in with the 6 bars of gold, then rather than thinking, oh, I didn't come in with it, therefore I'm not supposed to have it, we just say, oh, by the way, I need a care package. Can you send me the 6 bars of gold because I didn't bring it with me? Thank you very much. So much of and I really want to talk about gratitude. One of the things that we've been seeing very clearly lately is the actual shift in someone's energy when they complain and the shift in someone's energy when they express gratitude. And can anybody guess what that looks like? When they're complaining, what do you think happens? Their energy field grows? No, yeah, exactly. They shrink, they compact, doors close around them. Those who want to serve them can't give them something even if they want and deserve it. It's really, really significant how complaining cannot bring you what you want. Things are never brought into, things are never brought into manifestation by thinking about their opposites. And what that means is, if you think about the lack, thinking about lack will never produce a manifestation of its opposite. If you want plenty, we need to be putting our attention on plenty. So we've been watching lately and seeing the experience of different people being, where we say, what do you want? And what they start doing is listing what they don't want. Well, I don't want parking tickets. I don't want bills that I can't pay. I don't want. And think of it this way. You've just rubbed Aladdin's lamp. And here's the genie, whether it's Robin Williams from Disney's Aladdin or whoever the genie is. Here's the genie waiting to do something. He's waiting to give you what you want, and you say, I don't want this. What's his action step? What can he do? Absolutely nothing. He can't do a thing for you. You're just mouthing, you're just saying words, you're just making noise. Nothing can come of it until you say, well, I want all my bills paid. I want to have this kind of car. I want to have whatever it is that you believe is something that you can have now. And not only to ask for it, but express gratitude for it. Just as the complaining collapses, these days in the world, when somebody expresses gratitude, they literally light up so that the angels can see them more clearly. You may not be able to see the lighting up, but I guarantee you that's what's happening. And the more they express gratitude, the more the different beings come to support them for what they're aspiring for. Does that make sense? So what we want to do is we want to break all habits of thinking small. We want to break, and these are the things that we're clearing during this call. So I am going to tell you now at the end of the call, the optimal thing to do for everyone is to rest for half an hour before you move on to the next activity. And then for the next 24 hours, just have ridiculously large amounts of water to let things flush out, and then drop me an email or whatever in a day or two and tell me what you've noticed since the call, what positive changes or whatever you notice. We are creative beings. Our job in creation is actually to create, and every thought that we have and every word so much more profoundly and so much more quickly that we speak will be made manifest. It will happen. It's a question of when. And one of the things that we want to be aware of is that, first of all, we're actually thinking and speaking and asking for what we truly want and what we would like to experience in our lives. And secondly, we want to have the wherewithal and the inner power or the connection to source or the connection to the divine or whatever term we want to use. We want to have that so we have what we talked about earlier about stage presence. We have that energy, we have that strength that we can very quickly manifest our desires. If we know exactly what we want, but we're weak, it can take us a long time to get it. If we know exactly what we want and we're powerful, we can get it very quickly. So one could see that Mick Jagger or Paul McCartney or somebody who's been famous for 20 years says, water, somebody's going to hand them a glass of water. But if I'm sitting here or you're sitting there and you say water and nobody's around, it could be years because you're not talking to anybody who bring it to you, okay? So you want to be able to have the ability to, one, know clearly what you want, know why you want it. Is it truly something that motivates you, or do you just want it because everybody else wants it, or because you feel you should want it? Be very clear on what you're asking for, because a lot of the people in this group, money's not your issue here on earth. You're not, you basically, it's just something to attend to. It's basically something to allow that occurs around you, just like some people allow winter if they live in that part of the country, you just allow it. It's something that you're just supposed to allow to, but it's not something that's worth a lot of your attention because it's not what you're here to do. And if you don't know what you're here to do, whatever week in the next couple of weeks, we'll be clearing things so you can lock into your life's purpose more. But the big thing to recognize is that some of us, we think we have an issue with money because we don't have as much money as other people tell us we should have. But that's other people's issue. That's actually not ours. Some of us can live a very comfortable life, and in some cases, it's a quite good level of prosperity. And we want to be aware that the base level of prosperity for anybody that has a computer that has Zoom is already right across the board higher than 2/3 of the world's population, which means what, 4 billion people or more? So when we're saying, I don't have a lot of money, yeah, go to China, go to Africa, go to Asia, go to so many places in the world that you can go to India, and describe your life here to them, and see what they think of your life. You know, many people have astrology readings or Jyotish readings that said they should live like a queen, and they think they mean the Queen of England, one of the wealthiest people in the world, and they don't. They mean the life, and maybe they do, but in many cases, it's often just the quality of life of a queen. And think about a queen anywhere in the world 400 years ago who did not have indoor plumbing, who certainly didn't have TV, the internet, a telephone, who didn't have washing machines or dryers or indoor plumbing or wooden floors or air conditioning or electric heat or solar panels or a car. I mean, you know, we really want to be alert to, and again, come back to this thing of gratitude. You know, we're doing really well. If you're on this call, you're doing well. Now, do you want to do better? Yes. And for a lot of you, we do want to clear your money blocks because you actually have them, and we're sorting this out now. It's much better than it was at the beginning. But I thank you all for allowing it and just letting go and letting things shift. We do want to clear the money blocks for those who actually are not receiving money because of some internal misunderstanding or karmic block or something. But we also want to empower those people who money is not their issue to understand that money is a state of mind, and you should expect that if you're doing what you're here to be doing, you will be taken care of, and you just have to allow it. You don't have to go out and look for it. You just do what you're doing, and the right people will come. I have heard it said that doubts are death. Everything that we think we create, if we're doubting, we're actually creating. Doubting means we're thinking about the exact opposite of what we want. Well, I want the car, but I'm not going to get the car. What if I don't get the car? What if, okay? And that's the exact opposite of what we want. So if we spend 2 minutes being grateful for the car that it's coming, but 15 hours worrying about whether it's going to get here or not, what do we think's happening? Whose order is being taken first? How's that playing out? So we really want to be aware of what we want. Can we accept it? Can we own that we're people who are worthy of that? People have won the lottery and won huge amounts of money, and 6 months later, or 1 year later, or 2 years later, been broken penniless again because they didn't own the level of together. They didn't own within themselves that they're those people on whatever level. Maybe they didn't have the inner strength for it. Maybe it was something they couldn't expect. You know, the movies teach us so much about money that is not real. I don't know how many movies come out a year where somebody gets a whole bunch of money by winning the lottery, robbing a bank, swindling somebody, doing all these things where instantaneously this really dramatic amount of money, 10, 15, 1,000 times more than they've ever had, suddenly comes to them. But it usually doesn't work that way. And why? Because we don't grow that way. Jack and the Beanstalk is a lovely story that you plant the beans at night and then there's a tower to the sky the next day. But how many of us have actually seen plants grow that fast? You know, in New England, you can tell how old a tree is because when you slice it, there are rings in the tree for each winter. They grow differently in winter and differently in summer. And they have this fungus that grows on the side of trees too. It's like half of a mushroom coming out, and it's the same thing. They do the same thing. They grow a little bit, and then when winter comes, a darker line comes because they grow more slowly, and then like that. So you can find some of these things that are like this big on the side of a tree. Sometimes it looks like the top of the dome part of a mushroom with all these lines across it. It's just how old it is. And I knew this, but I'm just going to tell you an entertaining story, at least it was entertaining to me at the time. I was walking with a friend of mine back there, and I was like 20, 17, I don't know how old I was. And I was explaining this to my friend who didn't know it. And he was like quite aghast. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. And I thought, let's have some fun. And a bee flew by with 2 black stripes and 1 yellow stripe. And I just looked at him and I said, you know, you can also tell how old bees are by how many stripes they have, which is not true. But the look on his face for that half a second before I started laughing hysterically was really good. Anyway, so be that as it may. Good. Let's talk about, again, we're still working on trying to clear everybody who is all the different issues that we have with people. And everybody should just be letting go. Whatever it is that's preventing you from having the wealth that you want, just let go and let the work that we're doing and let Divine Mother and just let them take it away. Just let it go. You don't need it. It doesn't serve you. Some of you have like a brick in your back pocket, and I don't know how it got there, but really just get rid of it. It's not strengthening you. It doesn't look snappy or cool. It's never going to help you no matter what you do. And by that, I mean it's a belief that you're holding on to. And you don't need to identify it. Just say, hey, if I'm one of these people, I let it go. It's all you need to do. But just, there we go. There we go. Thank you. There are stories of different beings, different saints. There's a story that Deepak Chopra talked about in like the second book that he ever wrote, which was kind of personal and talked about some events in his own life. And he said one time he was walking through a crowded marketplace in India, and they were very, very crowded. And he went to give some money to somebody who was begging or whatever the term was. And so he gave him some coins, and the man that gave the money to said, what do you want? And he thought he wasn't in that frame of mind. So he just said burfi, which is an Indian treat, kind of like candy, but not chocolate. And so he just said that, and the man that he gave the money to literally reached up in the air and then dropped 2 pieces of burfi in Deepak's hand and then disappeared into the cloud, and Deepak actually went chasing after him, but couldn't find him after that. But this idea of literally pulling something, we use the phrase out of thin air, but it's actually being created from a source much more refined than that. I spent a lot of time involved with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who started the Transcendental Meditation TM organization, and there are stories about the man that he trained from, who was called Gurudev Shankaracharya, of Jyotirmaya, and so this is a monastery in the north of India, and they did all kinds of functions, but when it was being run by Maharishi's master, he never accepted donations of any kind, and whatever they wanted to do, they always had money for. And I've heard various reasons of how that was, that they had a box that he just went, and whenever he needed the money would be there or whatever. But the basic idea is that here's a monk with no belongings in an ashram that's not collecting money, and they're paying for these big functions somehow or other, as well as feeding and everybody there. So how does that work? And it works because of the understanding of how things are brought about in creation, and it works by the understanding that nobody, literally nobody aside from people, play the money game. Fish don't play it, foxes don't play it, crocodiles don't play it, hippopotamuses don't play it, angels don't play it, higher angels, archangels, nobody plays the money game but people. And when you understand that these animals eat and can live very comfortable lives, we're going to put pollution aside because, again, that's a man-made thing, but they live very comfortable lives generation after generation for as long as the world has been, without ever worrying for a day about where their next meal is going to come from. But we worry constantly about where our next check is going to come from. All the time, is it going to be enough? How much is being taken out in taxes? Will I have enough money to get what I want? Again, we're going back into that. And we just want to let go of all of that, and we want to lean into the awareness. And this one, we'll be doing a big clearing for everybody for. We want to lean into the awareness that we are as worthy as a bear in the woods of living a comfortable life. We are as worthy as living a comfortable life as a whale in the sea, as a dolphin, as a crab, as a cricket, as a cat, as a dog, as a bird, as an eagle, as a vulture. All of these can live an immensely comfortable life, or even a flower or a tree, and we are as worthy of living that life as any of them are. So how many here on the call feel that you're not worthy of living a life as comfortable as, say, an ant? So raise your hand. By the way, I think there's a phone thing too, if you can't actually find the button. But an ant, we're all worthy of at least as much as an ant. So if you feel you're not worthy as an ant to live a comfortable life, then raise your hand and we'll do some special clearing on that for you. But there is a reason that people are more valued than ants, which is not to say that ants are not valued for what they are and what they do, but what humans can do is so much more. And what humans can do is that they can experience more. They can experience more. Good. So I'm going to lower the hands of those who raised hands, just so what's going on. And we're going to start working on clearing this. So when we walk around in our lives, we tend to believe that everyone else and everything else is seeing the same world that we are. And it's not true. So we look at a cat, or we look at a dog, or we look at a toad, or we look at a bird, or whatever it is, fish, and we think that they see the world the way that we do. So we look and we see, I mean, our computers have millions of colors that it can show us, and it's a fraction of all the colors that we can see. And we can talk, we see the colors, we can hear, we can smell, we can taste, we can walk, we can do all of these interesting things. And our perception of the world and our ability to interpret it is very unique to people. But we look at a thought, or we look at a toad, and we think they're seeing the same world we do. So we see a toad on the green grass, and maybe it's near a tree, and we think, oh, that toad is seeing the green grass that it's on, and it's seeing the brown from the tree, and oh, the sunset's going on, so all these oranges, and that toad is enjoying the same world that I am. But it's not. All that a toad can see is dark and light, and little dark specks against light background moving around, which it takes to be food, and it eats. And it is so limited in its perception that if you take a pile of dead flies, which is what frogs and toads eat, and you put it in front of a frog or toad, and they are dead flies, they will starve to death not knowing that they have an unlimited amount of food in front of them, because it's not a dark speck moving around, because they can't see the colors, they can't distinguish it, they can't interpret what they're seeing. All they're seeing is dark light and little speck, and the tongue shoots out. Okay? But we look at them and we think they're seeing what we do. And while that's a wonderful nervous system for what it does, it's not what a human nervous system can do. No frog or toad, aside from Mr. Toad and the books that we read as children, are actually going around thinking about what kind of car they want, or what kind of furniture they want, or what kind of house. They're just living a life of simple innocence, going along with what nature throws at them. They're not really making any decisions. But when we get to the human nervous system, we get to make choices, which means we get to make choices that can strengthen us and make us more in line with the natural flow of evolution and more power for us. Or we can make choices to eat a half gallon of ice cream at midnight and stay up all night because of it. And it is really fun. And we get that, but it may not be what's most conducive to our overall health or strength, or it may be. What we want, the reason we're explaining all this, excuse me, is we want people to recognize that when you get to the human level, there is a level of worthiness that befalls your status automatically, because you can desire it, because you can ask for it. The very fact that you want it means it's in your radar to have it. But we want to switch from wanting to having, and we want to lean into gratitude. And if there is a block, and maybe we don't know what the block is, excuse me, and maybe we do know what the block is, but if there is a block, or if there is a weakness, then not only do we express gratitude for getting or receiving the raise, or the client, or the house, or the car, or the new pair of jeans, or whatever it is, but we also can express gratitude and let go of whatever blocks have been created within us, or we can express gratitude that we are now strong enough and powerful enough to receive it, and again, open up and allow ourselves to be more powerful and stronger. And we can also express gratitude that we now receive it. So there's several steps along the way, and they're all very helpful. And if you'd like, I can give you a little technique that you can do that will help you bring your good into your life more quickly. So raise your hand if you would like that. Good, good, okay. Good, so a whole bunch of you. That's great. What we want to do is to be able to create. We've expressed that we are creative beings and that everything that we think and everything that we say we create. But even the thinking, so speaking is a cruder expression of thinking. When we speak it, it's already done. Whatever we're speaking has already gone through several layers of development within us. So that's speech. So thinking is the precursor to speech, although a lot of people will tell you that there's no filter between the brain and the mouth and whatever they think comes, but truthfully there is a filter. But underlying even, so from the grossest of finesse of speech, which uses the organ of action of the mouth and the throat and everything, what underlies that is the mind. But what underlies the mind is the intellect, which is that which discerns or compares and contrasts. That's the decision making. But the subtlest level of the intellect is actually the feeling level. And the intellect will always decide in favor of the heart. So if the heart gives rise to the intellect, gives rise to the mind creates the thought creates the speech, and then we create what we want. Why don't we cut to the chase and just go to the feeling level and create what we want from the feeling level? And you see how that would be quicker and also, because it's a subtler level, more powerful. Does that make sense to everybody? So here's an exercise that you can do, and you can do it briefly. Okay, so you can do this very briefly, like when you parked at a stop sign or a traffic light, better than a stop sign. But if you're stopped at a stop sign thinking it's a traffic light and you're waiting for it to turn red, then you have more time. So, but you want to, give yourself a minute or two, but you can certainly, once you've done it a few times, do it more quickly. You can do it hours a day, but I'm going to recommend that you probably, if you have the time and can do that, great. And if not, try to get in a couple minutes a day here and there about what you want. And what you want to do is do it with your eyes closed at first and settle. If you do some breathing things or yoga or whatever, meditate or whatever you normally do to settle down, if you have some practice that you do, I would do that first. And then when you're done with whatever that practice is, then I would just add another minute or 2 or 5 minutes or 10 minutes or half an hour if you want, and start thinking about how you will feel when you get what you're asking for. And not just list it, but actually allow yourself to feel the fulfillment that you will have when you have the item. Because the truth is, everything that we want because it will give us a particular feeling. It'll make us feel proud, or it'll make us feel respected, or it'll make us feel loved, or it'll make us feel comfortable, or it'll make us feel smooth, or it'll make us feel well cared for. It'll make us feel a particular way. It'll make us feel worthy. It'll make us feel justified that what we've been doing has been a good thing. It'll make us feel good about ourselves. So actually having the thing that we're striving for is all about getting to that stage where we can have this feeling. But we're going to cut to the chase and say, what is the feeling that you will have, and actually feel it? And if you can't feel it, then use the words. I'll feel like I've used my time wisely. I'll feel that level of comfort. I'll feel like I've done some good service. I'll feel like I'm valued. I'll feel like I'm cared for. I'll feel comfortable. I'll feel worry-free. If you need to start with the words, then by all means start with the words, but we really want to lean into the feeling. And the more we can do this for a particular result, the more quickly that result will come. For a lot of us, we're looking at 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 different things all happening, and that's all fine and well and good, and just do it for each of the different things throughout the day. Again, there are many little moments during the commercial, the TV show, mute it, there you go, while you're waiting for the water to boil, while you're waiting for the coffee or the tea to steep, while you're waiting for the toast to pop up. You know, there's so many times throughout the day that we really just have, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, a minute or two that we can just start filling with this. How will I feel when I have it? And then end by expressing gratitude that we have it now. Thank you that this comes to me now. Thank you that I receive this now. I can't get over how generous the divine is. And the divine is incredibly generous. And in my experience, all blocks to people who are not living are 100% self-created. And they're 100% self-created either through miseducation and misinformation, which is probably about 97% of it, and then just bad habits, wrong thinking is the other 3%. Most of it is that we learned the wrong things somewhere along the way, and we have TV commercials and movies and TV shows and neighbors and friends and fashion magazines and everybody all the time telling us that we're not good enough. And we need to stop hearing that and start seeing what's being offered, not as if I don't have it, I'm not worthy, but as a catalog of, hey, do I want that? There comes a time in our life when we realize that we could fill our lives with clutter and it won't make us any happier. And we could just go visit the item in the store like we go see something in the museum. We could hear the song once in a while. We don't necessarily have to own every copy that was ever printed out. Does this make sense? Good, everybody's a lot more subtle now. That's much nicer. All right, let's do a couple minutes of silence. I know there's some other things we want to talk about, and I want to let everybody just settle in and digest. Okay. Yeah, we're going to do about 10 minutes of silence while we'll be clearing everybody. Those who can comfortably lie down, you're welcome to. Those who are sitting in comfortable chairs or whatever, just close your eyes. Those who are driving, don't crash, please pull over. And we'll just do about 10 minutes and then take a minute to come out. And then we'll talk about some other things, including some other questions that will come out. So we're just going to do some silence for a couple minutes. And we'll begin now. So let's take a minute or two and then open our eyes slowly and sit back up and then we'll talk some. Good, everybody okay? Good. So we're going to do another one of those before we end. Everybody's a lot smoother now, and for almost all of you, what's the block that's most pressing right now is doubt. And so let's address doubts for a couple of minutes. And the doubts could be about anything. It could be I'm not worthy, or this person to show up, or the check clear, or where's it come from. Any of these, any doubts, anything where we don't own the answer outright falls in the category of doubts. And the way that we get rid of them is we stop them and we think the contrary thought. This is from Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, and it's from Lord Christ. We just don't go there. We just don't go there. There's a book that I saw the title of many years ago, and I almost bought the book, real thick book, and I almost bought it just to have the title sitting around. And the title was, You Can't Afford the Luxury of a Negative Thought. And I'm going to suggest that you can't afford the luxury of doubting who you are, what you are, and what you're. So as soon as you have a doubt, go cancel that and immediately think the opposite. Go to gratitude instead of doubt. Go to worthiness instead of it. And even if you don't believe it, express gratitude that you are worthy of receiving this and that you are in the flow of this. And depending on where you are over time, eventually will just should happen actually pretty quickly, that things start to shift for you. All doubt is a habit of thinking that no longer serves us. And speaking of things that no longer serve us, so this is the thing to get rid of doubts, is that we think the contrary thought, we immediately cancel that 5, 10, 50 times, oh, cancel that, whatever works for us. And then we express it in the opposite way, ideally with gratitude. Oh yeah, thank you that the event comes on time. I can't wait to see how that happens. It's going to be so cool. Just that, to start going into gratitude and leaning to that, and very quickly that will build and start being the dominant habit pattern. And that's when miracles start to happen. That's when really cool things work out. Any questions on that? Because if you have them, bring them up and we will address them. Good. Okay, we want to talk about canceling contracts. We call a friend up, we say, hey, let's go to the movie. I hear the Avengers Infinity War is playing, just pulling the movie out of my hat. And they go, great. And you show up in the cinema, and the line for Infinity Wars was around the block 3 times. I mean, probably does it now, but let's say it just opened. And over here is a comedy with Tom Hanks that you'd enjoy just as much. And you decide, you know what? I called you down here to see Infinity Wars, but we can change it. Would you rather go? Can we go over here instead? Contracts, you know, they're lovely to the point that they serve us. But when they stop serving us, our loyalty should be to what serves us, to ourselves, to God, to those we love. And our loyalty should not be to a rule that we made up simply for convenience. It's really important that people recognize that rules are to serve people, contracts are to serve people, not the other way around. So if we have made agreements on any level with anyone about doing something that we no longer feel serves us, is no longer for our highest and best, and this is not laziness. There's a different thing. Not feeling like it, but knowing it's right is, you know, it's in our best interest to honor that. So we're not saying to stop those. But what we're saying is for those that if, for instance, we agree to take on suffering of other people so that the world would be a better place, and now we decide that, well, that's enough of that. What I'd like to do now is I now recognize that me being a radiant, golden, divine being on earth will do more good than all the good of taking on the people around me, then I want to change that contract. I want to stop helping those around me. Because if I tie 300 people's shoelaces, it's nice and the day is a little bit better. But if I use that same energy for my own enlightenment or raising my consciousness or growing in health or fulfillment, that can make a light that is significantly brighter than all the little sparks of time, all the little shoes. So we want to be aware of what serves us best, who we are now, and we can rewrite the contracts for pretty much anything. And the only caveat I'm going to recommend for you is don't give up on those things that are like purpose. Give up on those things that are not like purpose. Give up on those things that don't really matter, and then use that extra energy to create what you truly want to live in life. Does that make sense? And so the way that we break contracts is that if we know who the contract is with, then we can certainly call upon them. And if not, we can call upon whoever we pray to normally. God, Mother Divine, Goddess, Lord Christ, Buddha, Shiva, Shankara, Muhammad, whoever warms our heart when we think of them. Maybe it's just beloved, maybe it's dear one, maybe it's God or Goddess, whatever it is. We don't do it to our higher self. That's a separate thing that we'll talk about in a minute. But we do it to that being who oversees creation in our awareness, that we give that level of respect to. And we just simply say, I now break all contracts and agreements and obligations that no longer serve me. Thank you, God, and so it is. It's real simple. I break any bindings, any contracts, any obligations. That pretty much covers it. And thank you, God, and so it is. And I would do it repeatedly for 3 or 4 days until we're sure that they're taken care of. And thank you for asking, but no, I mean, we may know what they are, but we don't particularly need to, especially if we know what we're trying to create now and who we are now. You know, a little kid, they can join, the school says, great, pick an instrument. And maybe they try drums for 3 weeks, and then they try trumpet for 3 weeks, and then they do this. And maybe they picked up a rental agreement for the snare drum and for the tuba and all these instruments. But eventually they find out that what they want to do is play guitar or whatever it is. And then they just want to get rid of all of the contracts once they now know what they're doing. And if we don't know what we're doing, that's the life's purpose one, which would be a whole different one. But even if we don't know 100% of what we're doing, if we know enough of what we're doing that we know we're at least on the right ball field. We're no longer on the football field or the soccer field, we're on the volleyball field or badminton or baseball or whatever analogy sport works for us. You know, we're on the hopscotch thing on the sidewalk. Once we know we're there, maybe we're not quite in the square we want to be in. Maybe we're not sure whether we're going to be the pitcher or the catcher yet, but we know at least it's here. Then there's still a lot of contracts and a lot of things that we can get rid of. So we want to get rid of what we don't need. And before I move on to the next thing, is everybody clear on that? Are there any questions in how to get rid of what we don't need? So seems to be good. So we use the name, so I just have to repeat it. We use the name of the divine that most warms our heart, which can change from time to time. And so we call upon them, and it's ideal to express gratitude about, you know, a few things first, not crucial if you're in a hurry, but it's nice. It just warms the heart even more. So maybe we'll say, dearly beloved, I now break and cancel all contracts and bindings that no longer serve me. Thank you, God, and so it is. And I would do it 3 or 4 times, several times for several days. And if 2 months from now you become aware that, oh, I'm going to be the pitcher and not the catcher, then maybe there's a couple other things that can be released. So we want to release what we no longer need. Good. Any other questions? Good. Okay, now we also want to make sure that we're open to receive. So now we're getting rid of what we don't want. We're getting rid of contracts. We're emptying our backpack that we came in with of the tools that at this stage of the game, we don't need anymore. We don't need the sneakers that we wore in kindergarten. We don't need the report card from 3rd grade. There's certain things we just don't need anymore. Let's get rid of them. Then the next thing we want, and getting rid of stuff and creating a vacuum and clearing out what we don't want, we can do in every area of our life. In the emotional field, we do it by forgiving. In the physical field, we do it by clearing out the room. We just, things that we don't need anymore, just get rid of them. And if they warm your heart and they make you feel good to have them, even if it's something that you don't particularly use on a daily basis, but you like having around, if it adds to your life, keep it. If it doesn't add to your life and it's just something that you've been moving from place to place to place to place to place and you never look at it anymore, maybe it's time to let go. So we want to be letting go in every area of our life of whatever gets in the way, no longer serves us. And then, having created some space, we now want to open all the doors and windows and open our hearts and open our emotional bodies and our physical bodies and spiritual bodies to receive all the grace that the divine would like to give us. Equally simple, same beginning. We call upon the divine name using that name, which warms our hearts the most in that moment, which again can change as the day progresses and certainly from week to week and month to month. And we just I now open and receive all the blessings that you would like to give me. And if there are any blocks, known or unknown, please remove them. Thank you, God, and so it is. Simple. And we do it in the way that works best for us, that works in our culture, in our tradition, or however we align ourselves to the masters of creation or whatever level of source or whatever we want to do. Only it needs to be a person, not awareness itself, not source of source, which we'll talk about in the other things that are coming. It needs to be somebody who can do something. The structure of the organization of nature that is responsible for fulfilling desires looks like a really tall building, not totally dissimilar to the post office. And there are floors where there are just those who actually deliver. And then there's administrators, and then the wish fulfillers, and it just goes on and on and on. And why not befriend the highest, who has influence through all of them, and then allow things to come and allow them to be delivered in the most optimal way possible. I will tell you with absolute certainty for everyone on this call and everyone listening that the aspirations that you are looking for financially and the comfort of life that you are asking for at this stage of the game right now on this call, it's about 10% of what you are worthy of and what you can have. It's a big world, and you can have what you can have is absolutely amazing. And not in a critical way, but I'm going to tell you, you can think bigger and bigger than that, and bigger than that, and bigger than that, as you are comfortable with it. Don't jump too high in one step. But all of the ambitions that all of you on this call are thinking about right now is about 10% of what you could actually have in this lifetime here and now. Okay. I wish the sound could be adjusted. I don't have any control over it that I know of. Yeah, and I apologize for that. I don't know what the cause is, whether it's the internet or not. Maybe it'll come out better in the recording. So that will be available for replay, and I'll figure out where to put that in the next couple of days and send an email about it. Okay, I want to go back to a couple of questions that people asked. So if you chose to be an aunt in the past, now you know how to break that contract and be whatever you want to be now. And why not be a divine angel living on earth? in the best of all possible ways. For the person who wrote about being grounded is not your problem anymore. I did do a check on all of this. It's just do the feeling thing that we talked about earlier, and that should manifest what you want. But you really need to get rid of doubts, and you really need to aggressively work on not doubting. And again, we talked about how to do that. So, oh, the microphone's right here. Okay, so this is confusing. All right, we're gonna have to get one of those other microphones that come out for next time. Okay. Are there any questions on anything that we have talked about so far? Let's take all questions right now. Once we get done with that, we're going to do another 10-minute clearing, and then I'm going to, if you're interested, I'm going to tell you about a cool thing that's coming up. I know your huge vision, and we'll give you a high 10%, but it's still 10%. I'm sorry, dear. You know I adore you, and I'm very aware of. So, okay. Yeah, so any other questions about anything? And I'll give you about 10 seconds to raise your hand or put something in the chat. And then we'll just go on to another clearing, if that's good for people. By the way, you're all much more settled now. This is actually good. Just want to check and see. Yeah. Yeah, good. Okay, so so we seem to be good for questions. Yes, you can share the recording with anybody that you'd like, and the clearings will work for them as well. Yeah, I think everything's good. There's some other stuff that we'll talk about after this clearing briefly. If you feel inclined to be to come on any of the other calls that we're doing about love and health and life's purpose, I would encourage you to do that. Again, I believe we're making a recording of these. Not sure what all that's going to mean. Maybe since you're all going to go out and get rich, I'll sell it for $1 million. I don't know. It'll probably be free. So, but who knows? It may only be free for a limited time. So be alert to your emails. That we've got for now. Okay, we're going to do 8 or 9 more minutes of a clearing. We want to kind of take care of it. There's a few little things here and there for some of you, and we want to really smooth out everybody one more time. So we'll do that, and then we'll talk for about 4 or 5 minutes, and we should wrap up what will be about 6 my time, give or take a minute or 2. Anybody who wants to stay after and have semi-private questions, I'm here for another 15 minutes afterwards if you want to, but the bulk of it will be on for about 6 or 6:01. So, and for those of you who said thank you, you're very welcome. So we'll close our eyes again, probably closing in 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes or something, and then we'll talk. So, good. So let's take a minute and then open our eyes here. What to do with that? I want to give you one more thing. That's another little prayer. That is, and you can say this and claim it for yourself, or you can say it as they're calling on the Divine Mother in the same way. And that is, if you say it yourself, I now remove any and all blocks and restrictions within and without that prevent me from receiving and living my best life, my highest life, my divine life, all that the divine would like me to have. If we do it with the divine, then again, calling on beloved that remain warms our heart. Please remove any more restrictions, blocks, limitations within and without that prevent me from living the best possible life, everything that we would like me to receive, everything that we give me. And then we end in gratitude again. So either I remove all blocks, inhibitions, limitations within and without, or calling on prayer of the divine and saying, please remove all blocks, limitations, inhibitions within and without that prevent me from receiving and living the best possible life that we have to offer, that we'd like to have. Good. So I do want to tell everybody that September 22nd and 23rd here in Santa Monica, it looks like it'll be the Civic Center. We are going to have a 2-day event. The value is at $5,000. I know what we're going to be doing there, and I've had people pay me anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000 and not gotten everything we're going to cover there. It's going to be incredible. We don't even, I know all this stuff that we're presenting, and we haven't even figured out the best way to name it yet. But there will be an early bird price of $99 for a ticket. And if anybody would like to sign up right away, I don't even have a button or anything I can give you. You're just going to have to drop me an email. We will have an early bird price for at least another week or so, and then the price will go up. And it's not going to go up to $5,000, but the VIP is $100 more, and the VIP gets a lot more time with me. They got early registration on Friday, and kind of a mixer thing that I'll be at, and some of the people that I work with will be at, and then they'll get lunch with me each day. It's going to be freaking amazing. And I encourage anybody to come and to bring your friends, because it's, for those who come, it's going to be revolutionary and life-changing in the best possible ways. You won't go back the same person. So drop me an email, david@davidadelson.com. It's the same address that you get all the invitations for today. If you're interested in that, and we'll put you on the list to send you an early bird button to sign up for it. But that's going to be very exciting. Mark your calendars, September 22nd and 23rd. It's a Saturday and Sunday. It'll be all-day events, and early bird for those who want VIP will be the evening before, probably about 7 o'clock. So, and it'll be 2 blocks from the beach, and all kinds of restaurants, no matter what your tastes are. You will love it. You'll have an amazing time, and I encourage you all to come. And other than that, this session is now complete, and I am so grateful that you all came, and I'm so grateful that I was able to share this knowledge and these clearings with you. Rest for half an hour before you go on to the next activity, and in about 24 hours or so, drop me a quick email, let me know what you've been noticing since the call, and enjoy. This has been quite a significant call. All your energies are very different. Think big, wish well for yourself, get out of your own way, and let the best possible divine aspect of you shine forth for an incredibly amazing night. So I will stick around for anybody who wants to chat quasi-privately, but otherwise the call is not complete. So thank you all for being here. Bye. And if you are sticking around because you have a question, chat, or raise your hand, or unmute yourself and jump up and down, whatever you want to do at this point. So just speak. Okay, well, if you all want to stick around and nobody wants to say anything or ask a question, then I'll do another thing for 5 more minutes, maybe 6, and your job is just simply to receive. Just draw it in like this, a plant that's been desperate for water, finally getting water, just soak it up. And we'll do 6 more minutes, but I want you all to be able to function the rest of today, so we don't want to do too much. The September event, you won't be able to function after, but that's the different thing. You'll be functioning on a completely different thing. All right, so I'll just go into silence if nobody's asking a question, and we'll just do some clearing. And as Bianca is reminding everybody, thank you, Bianca, drink lots of water. If the Atlantic, for those of you on the East Coast, is not drained by morning, you haven't got enough water. If the Mississippi still has water and you're in the Midwest, you really haven't. And if the Pacific Ocean hasn't gone down by at least a few yards and you're on the West Coast, more water, more water, more water. Always with the idea that you're flushing the pipes, it's washing things out. We're not drinking to fill or to quench our thirst. We're drinking to flush out the emotional body, our psychic body, our spiritual body, our physical body, all of that stuff. Thank you. So, good. And Bianca wrote a very sweet thing in there that she pictures a golden healing elixir that clears all that no longer serves her. And if that works for you, yeah, I'm going to mention that for the golden elixir, Bianca, you want that it clears all that no longer serves you, and then you take 4 more doses of it to clear what it cleared out of your system. So you're going to do it once to clear what no longer serves you, and then you're going to do it to clear that's out of the system, that out of the system, that out of the system. Good. Okay. I'll check one more time before we hang up the comments, but I think we'll just give you a little small blast for 5 or 6 more minutes, and then I'll do one more check and I'll hang up too. So, good. Good, so let's take a moment and come up and survey. Good. So I'm going to encourage you all to take it easy and rest for half an hour before you go on to the next thing. If you're still on the call now and you've enjoyed it, I sincerely suggest you look at invinciblestars.com, and if that program interests you, there's a link to set up an appointment with me and let's talk about it. Don't worry about money to start with, just see if the program interests you, and there are many different levels and we'll see if we can get you in one. But if you like this call, we do this twice a week, and that's not even in the top 2 most powerful things we do in that program. It's absolutely incredible. The people who love it seem to be having an incredible time. So if you're still on the call, look at invinciblestars.com and set up a time and talk to me, because if you love this, we have this twice a week in this program, and it's the number 3 thing. There's 2 other things that are bigger in the cloud than this, and there's a whole lot more that goes with it. And even whether you do that or not, I invite you back next week for the call on whichever it is. And also seriously consider coming to Santa Monica for to upgrade your life from living on earth to living on heaven on earth. So blessings to all of you. I so appreciate you all being here. I appreciate who each and every one of you are and what you're doing for the planet, and I'm happy to help you in whatever way we can with this call, and watch the emails we'll be sending out, a link for the replay in the next couple of days. Thank you all again, and have a great evening, and expand and enjoy and receive and flow in love and grace. And money is a state of mind, so why not all be at least millionaires? Okay, take care, and we'll talk soon. Okay, bye-bye.